Before we go any further, what you hear on this podcast is our perspective as CRNAs. It's not medical advice, and it doesn't speak for any hospital or employer. We're just two providers having the conversations we think need to happen.
Well, I think we all paid for the yes more than we thought. I think it's a dynamic yes. You think you're going in for maybe 4 or 5 things and it turns into 100 things. And I paid for the yes. Becky paid for the yes. Our marriage paid for the yes. Our family paid for the yes.
I agree. I think I'm in the same boat. I think everybody paid for the yes. I feel like initially I thought I'd be the only one paying for the yes. And when you're in the trenches, you really do feel like you're in it alone. But I think everyone around us somehow ends up paying right along with us.
I think that we knew that the divorce rate in CRNA school was high. So it makes you think to yourself, could that be me? Because you're smart enough to know that anything can happen to anyone at any time. And then you put young people in a stressful place away from their support. And you think about it, you're like, man, this could be me. But at the time, I feel like more than anything, I was worried about not being able to have fun and enjoy my wife because we had just got married like 9 months before even going off to CRNA school. So I think in the back of my mind, I thought about, man, this could happen, but it wasn't really frontal just because there was just so much in front of me and it was such high stakes.
I kind of agree with that too. I never really thought for us that we weren't going to make it. I think when I started CRNA school, we'd been married over 10 years at that point. And we've had many separations, as we talked a little bit about how we were basically apart most of my CRNA school. I don't think for me it was ever a question of, are we going to make it? It was more of learning the new way of life because we came back so different. And so trying to just live in this new reality, I think probably were the harder parts in trying to reconnect and resync. Because I think we had a lot of periods of time where we were just out of sync, both of us living our own lives and not really living them together. So I think that was the hardest part for me.
Welcome to Clock Out and Connect, the podcast about what everybody's thinking, but no one's saying.
I'm Shantall, CRNA mom and professional worst case scenario planner.
And I'm Marc, a CRNA dad and the guy who makes the hard calls before most people finish their coffee.
We work in high pressure environments by day and come home to real life, family, ambition, and everything in between.
If you're thinking it, we're talking about it. All right, guys, welcome back to Clock Out and Connect. We're back this week and we're talking about marriages, right? We're going to talk about how this all went down during school and all the things in between. We're kind of piggybacking off of last episode too, where we talked about our yeses and what that meant. So here we are. Grab your drinks, your snacks, pull up, and let's connect.
Or your headphones if you're on the go, in the car, wherever you're at. We appreciate you being here with us.
At the gym, let's go. I see you. Keep moving.
So what I thought it would be like when I went to CRNA school, I guess the cost, if you will, was that it would be hard, obviously. I don't think anyone really goes in thinking it's going to be easy, but I thought it would be difficult. I thought I'd do my time and then we'd be done and we'd move on and live happily ever after. Actually, I don't even know. I think we touched on this before. I don't even know if I had thought past finishing school. And then as far as Adam, I mean, we'd been through so much already at this point. I think he understood it would be difficult because I was in nursing school while I was married as well. And that was also hard. And so we just got through it. I don't know if there was such an active thought process into just how difficult it was going to be. We definitely didn't anticipate all of the times that we would be separated at this point. And of course, the pandemic that ends up happening. So for us, I don't know if anything was super unexpected or expected. I think we almost went in blind.
So going in, I thought it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be hard because I'd had friends that were in CRNA school. They were SRNAs and they were telling me how crazy it was. And I was like freaking out. I was like, this is hard. I knew it was going to be hard from a work aspect. But what could I have known being married 9 months? You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it. So like that strain and that hard on our relationship was definitely new. Honestly, I think it's the best thing that could have happened because everything was just so new. All the hard blended in. So it blended in that sense. But looking back now, I realized how hard it really was. In the moment, it was definitely hard and it was emotionally hard for Becky. It was emotionally hard for me, but I think it was harder for Becky, to be honest, because she was lonely. She was supporting me. We were ships in the night. We just got married and it was isolating. It wasn't like she was really busy, right? She was busy doing things, but she wasn't as busy as I was busy. So it would naturally feel like, okay, she's done with her work week. We don't have like kids. She's not in any schooling herself. So it was hard to be alone.
And it's interesting you say that because, like I said, for us, we'd been married a long time when I went to school, but I remember that first year of marriage. And I remember it's almost like such a distant memory, but it was so hard. It was so hard. You are barely learning how to communicate, how to live with each other. And for us, I think you guys were fairly young too, but like we were really young when we got married too. And that was when Adam was a recruiter. And for those that don't know, recruiters in the Army are some of the hardest working soldiers out there, but they work them so hard. And so we were the same, ships passing in the night. And I can relate to that so much. And I honestly commend you guys for getting through it because it's so hard to just be married the first year alone in a normal setting and then add CRNA school to that. That's just insane.
It's like literally just almost like a death wish. It's just like, okay, leave everybody and everything, not just familial, but also geographically. And then you're going to go into this place now that it's 4 seasons. We've never lived together in 4 seasons. Becky's never lived in snow. And we're going and we're going to just create a community and build it and find our way and figure it out and just have a blast. And the craziest part is we actually did through all of it. It was the best time of our lives. It was one of the hardest times of our lives, but the best time because we met long life friends and we love and we hang out with till this day. And we did well despite, I think, the hardship. It was hard.
Hardship being an understatement.
Yeah. I realized right away that it was not going to be what I thought when I got home with the syllabus and I saw the people and all freaking out in class. And just maybe honestly, after the first week, I was just like, okay, this is definitely, I didn't know this kind of hard. This is different. Seems impossible. This is not humanly possible that I'm going to be even able to commit to all this work. I can't. I read this much in a day, but you learn quickly that you have to.
I think I realized, as I mentioned in a previous episode, that I got the notice that I was actually going to training when Adam was gone. He was TDY or deployed or something. I don't know where he was, but I had to basically put my big girl panties on and do this on my own. Adam and I got married when I was like 21 and I was still in the military. So I went from my parents' house straight into the military at 17. And there's a lot of structure involved with that, even though you're an adult, to being married and then following him around for his career. And then now I'm back into like in the driver's seat. So for me, I think I realized it right away that this is going to be life changing. And I had to lean on the rest of my family to make it happen. Since he was gone, he wasn't there to help me pack or do anything. So my mom flew out, we packed up my things and we drove from Washington State to San Antonio, Texas. And that's all she wrote. From there, it was like a game changer after that.
I mean, during that time, at the point where I realized that this is going to just keep getting worse for me, I'm just like, okay, what can I do to make her feel a part? And so I would try to integrate her in study sessions. I would invite her to, like, when we would do like post-test dinners or whatever, Becky was coming. And actually, Becky ended up becoming, like, we called her the 27th of SRNA. We were 26 of us. We started off with 26. But yeah, so I would try to incorporate her in all the things that we were doing. Checking in on her. Date nights were always scheduled to make sure that we had some time, even if I felt like I was going to fail the test next day. Still going on a date with a smile, trying to be present.
Were you freaking out during these times? Like,
oh my God. Always I would freak out because, and the part that was hard was a friend of mine that we actually got into CRNA school together. She, at the time, wasn't a relationship, but her boyfriend was not living there. So they were doing long distance. And it would freak me out because she was like, "Hey, you need to study. Aren't we going to study?" And I'm just like, "I'm on a date." And I'm just like, or whatever. And I'm just like, she's, "We got to study." And then I'm just like, oh man, it was really hard to navigate that time. And you know, what's craziest thing is sometimes you just have to do the things because I remember saying, okay, we're about to go to New York. We're going to go on this weekend trip to New York. And I had tests coming up like the following week. And I would go and we would get on the mega bus and I would study the whole time on the mega bus from Maryland to New York. And then we would hang out, have a good time in New York. And I would study all the way back on the mega bus. And I would come home that night. I would study again and then just wake up in the morning at the test. And by literally the grace of God, I passed my test. This is crazy, but you know how it is. You can study for 38 hours a day if you had, and you still wouldn't feel ready because the information's all consuming, right?
Agreed. For me, being that we started this journey separated, I was feeling very alone and also a little lost. I've done that a lot the last several years, but just trying to navigate being how they call it geographically single in the military because I need to rebuild a network friend. I knew nobody where I went. So I need to rebuild that, rebuild a social life, and also make those connections and that networking to get those study groups. So it was a rocky start for me, I think. And when I first left, it wasn't directly into CRNA school. You have to remember that when you go into active duty, when you commission, they send you to direct commission course and then officer basic course. And so that's like a good 6 months of just Army things. And I struggled a lot with that because I'm not the strongest runner. Physical fitness was always a little tough for me. So I was just like all consumed by trying to just keep up and make sure that I passed these classes and these courses because if I didn't, I couldn't start school. So it was a little overwhelming, not a little, a lot overwhelming. And I also remember just feeling very alone, even though I would still talk with Adam every day. It wasn't the same as when he's here.
At this time, we're there. Everything's evolving. We're in CRNA school. I have a little bit of knowledge of what's coming now, and Becky's understanding now because I think this was the other part that I did mention earlier. That so we talked about that this was going to be hard. We knew that the rates of divorce, all the things we talked about it. They told us all these things. They assign you a mentor in my program, and your mentor talks to you before you actually get in and throughout the program until that person graduates, and then you become a mentor for someone else. And so this was relayed to me, all this information. But now you're living in it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is harder than we thought. And I remember Becky was really homesick. She's like, I feel like you're not here. I am alone and this is really hard for me. I'm a young woman. I just got married and now my husband is gone. This is crazy. And so we had to talk a lot. Our communication had to be tip top because even with that, that's not normal.
No.
You don't get married and split up in the sense of, even though you're still in the house, you're not there. And it really does weigh on a person, and specifically the one that's not as busy. What we would do is fly her down to Florida sometime, or we'd have her parents and her family come up, and they would come up and hang out, and that would help to pass some of the really hard times where I was a lot busier in the hospital or like in didactic phase, and that would really help. Also, like looking forward to planning trips. We definitely did that a lot. So like whenever we got a chance, we just plan a trip and a countdown and look forward to that. She also picked up something that was pretty cool. She became interested in getting a certificate from Johns Hopkins. So what she did, she got a certificate then during that time for STEM. So yeah, so that was really cool. So she got a little bit of outlet on that. And then she would go to this place all the time, guys. She would go to the Saks Fifth Avenue warehouse. And supposedly it was like one of two or maybe one of one in the country. And at the time they had like a ton of like really high retail purses and all this stuff. And they would have a scratch on it. And what she ended up doing is she would get to something like, say, a Louis Vuitton that was like $5,000. They would mark it down to 800. And then she would go ahead and sell it on eBay for $3,000.
That's awesome.
So she took up this hobby of doing that. But some of those things she was supposed to sell, she still has them
Ooh.
till this day. So I think we might have broke even.
Well played, Becky. Well played.
Well played. So yeah, so she was doing that during that time. And I think that really helped us, that she found that to do, and she found her own community. So the other part that was really a lifesaver when we look back at it now is that her job was really demanding. So she was taking home work that she didn't take home when she was in Florida when we were first married, when she had her first job, her first teaching job, because Becky's a teacher. And the ratios in this school were crazy. They were borderline illegal. I don't know if it was or not, but like she would have 30 something kids to herself with no TA.
Oof. What age group?
I think elementary for sure. It might have been, I want to say second or third.
Oof.
Yeah, it was rough, but she has some really good partners. And so then they started becoming friends, and that really helped her grow. And she would tell you that this 3 years really stretched her in this career and grew her to be the teacher that she was. It set a foundation for her. So anything after that was really cakewalk for her.
Yeah. So for us, being that Adam and I were separated, I actually remember sometimes being a little jealous of him, actually, because he was out with all my friends in Washington State. They were doing everything, hiking, partying, all of it, going out, doing death marches, as we called them, because they would often go on these ridiculous hikes and then get lost or just end up in the middle of nowhere stranded. I don't even know how we made it through our Washington days, but those were so fun for us. And so me leaving and him staying behind in that life that we both built definitely gave me a little like sadness and nostalgia, but also was a little jealous because he was like with all our friends having fun and I'm over here grinding by myself. But thankfully, I did make really good friends throughout school that helped me keep busy and get through it. But those were some tough times for us. So he was able to keep really busy in other ways. A little side story is Adam bought an RV.
An RV?
It's like $1,000 RV with tons of water damage. And the idea was that he's going to rebuild that, completely rebuild it. And we were going to try to live in it when I was done with CRNA school. And he quickly realized
he was married to a Latina, and that's when it ended.
Right? But also the project itself was insane. He had to like scrap that thing to the studs, and then you get to the studs and they're all rotten. So like he literally had to tear the whole thing apart. It ended up being a trailer. He realized, okay, this isn't for me. So he took it all apart and sold the trailer as a trailer. I think he was able to get his money back just by selling a trailer, like literally a flatbed trailer.
Wow.
That was one of the things that he did to stay busy. Adam, when he needs to stay busy, can get into trouble, and it's usually some kind of construction project.
Mm-hmm. So while I'm in school, everything's changed dynamic wise, right? So I'm almost like, for lack of a better word, useless around the house because I am doing everything I can to make sure that my grades are good. And you always feel like you're on the verge of failing. Even if you take a test and you did get a good grade, you're just like, what, the next one? You know what I mean? So like you're just pounding tons of hours studying. So I'm not able to be there to help wash dishes. I'm not packing lunches. I'm not cleaning. I am literally surviving. I'm not doing laundry. And poor Becky, she's home by herself, and then she's left with all the tasks to do. And the one thing she wants to do is when I come home is just to spend some time and sit down and eat a dinner and talk about the day. And sometimes we can't even do that because she would literally come upstairs. So we used to study upstairs in my apartment building. It was just like a really cool apartment. I said to myself, I was like, if I'm going to suffer for 3 years, I'm going to have a really nice apartment. So we got a really nice apartment, right? So we're upstairs and we're studying, and Becky would make food and bring the food upstairs because I was just like, oh yeah, I'm coming. Even to this day, I just have a really bad habit. I was like, I'm going to come. And She hates when she has cold food. It can't even be like lukewarm. It's got to be hot right out.
You and Adam both do that. He still does that. I'm coming, I'm coming. And then now I just send my kid to tell him it's time to quit work.
Yes. Yep. So she's bringing food upstairs for me, and she's bringing food for the study group. A side story: she would make on study days. She would send me with empanadas every morning for the class. Like a lot of mornings, not all the
No
mornings.
wonder she was the seventh student.
Oh, they love some Becky, man. They love Becky. Yeah, so nothing orthodox. There's nothing traditional about our marriage. And then we are newlyweds, right? So it's funny because talking through this now, I realize so much about our dynamic in our life and why it's so different than so many people's currently, even. There are things that we do currently now that a lot of people that we know that are married, they're like, why are you doing this? How are you doing this? Like, how does this work? But honestly, thinking and talking about it, we've been trained to literally do it. Nothing was in order. Nothing came the way that we thought it would. It didn't happen like what in these traditional movies or our parents. We were just like, okay, we literally made a version of our marriage, and thank God it worked out and it did well. But like, it was definitely influenced heavily because of how we went into our marriage.
So I'm curious, what do you think is different? What do couples tell you that you guys do differently than other couples?
For instance, we don't really have a hard time being away from each other when we need to, when we have a goal in mind. And people are like, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I could sleep without my wife or my husband for a day or two and all, yeah, that kind of stuff. Or they'll be like, we have dinner together all the time together and we're sitting down and this is not, we still don't even sit down for dinner. Unless we're at a restaurant, we're like standing up, talking, doing things. Remember when you came to the house, Shantall?
Yeah, I do. I think only me and Adam sat at the table, actually.
Yeah, it is totally normal for us to just be doing things, talking, and we're good. But one thing Becky and I do very well, I realize because we've been told so many times, we communicate through the day a ton, whether that be voice text or text message or like quick calls. To be honest, like I feel like I don't miss a beat talking to her is when I see her and I realize I haven't seen her for a while. Then I'm like, oh man, she's so pretty. I miss her. And just all the things, or just, you know, how your spouse smells and you're like, oh my God, like I've been missing that. But for me, I'm like a freaking like laser whenever I'm locked in, like when I'm doing something. And to be honest, that's not really a good thing sometimes because what she used to feel and sometimes still feels is like, Becky, if there's no emotion and I'm not talking about how I feel about something often, it's a problem because she thinks that it's easy for me and that I don't care, maybe. And I'm just like, no, it's not that I don't care, but I choose not to focus on it because it's going to tear me up. So, like, why? And so it's crazy, as strong and good as that sounds, it's actually one of our issues, like, even to this day.
Yeah.
She'll be like, I just don't feel like this is hard for you. It is so hard for me. Or because maybe enjoy it more than, or what it looks like I'm enjoying it, like more than I really am.
Mhm.
She'll question that. And I'm just like, I swear, I feel the same way. So sometimes I'm like, oh man. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really do that.
I'm sure I've ever heard you complain.
But isn't it crazy? That's actually a problem. That's a problem for us because she feels like maybe I don't feel the weight of the issue because I don't complain. But that's the other thing. I hate complaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate it. I'm just like, what is the point? This is going to suck anyway. Like, why are we complaining about it? And so I'm not going to complain. But that's one-sided, right? It took me a while to really understand and see where she was coming from and what she means. And I'm just like, okay. And I don't have to whine and be like, oh, woe is me and this is hard. But she just wants me to communicate and let her know that the feeling is mutual, right?
Yeah, you're locked in.
And that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I'm locked in. I feel the same way and I feel the same way as you, but it's just to express it a little bit different or maybe lack of expression. I'm the person that I don't get, this is not technically true, but the best example to use is, you know, that person that does not get excited for the trip until they are actually there.
Yeah.
That's what I am like in life because this is what I've realized, that you can plan things the way that you think that they're going to turn out. But like when you have so much buy-in on what it's going to all look like, it can be more daunting than if you're just like, you know what, this is point A and this is point B. And in between that, I'm just going to just be numb, for lack of a better word, but not really numb until I get there. Then I'm like, oh, we here? Oh, and then I'll celebrate or whatever. But that's how I am. I don't know.
I could totally relate to that because Adam is a lot like you in that sense. He's like that stoic, quiet man that doesn't really tell you what he's feeling ever. And in the early days, I would especially have to dig. I had no idea what he was thinking, what he was feeling. Like, and he's also like a get it done person. So if he sees an issue, if he sees a problem, he's like, okay, we're going to fix it.
Fix it.
And he just
That's
does,
my man right there.
but he doesn't tell me that he's going to do anything. So like the communication part, I get where Becky's coming from on that one because I just want to know that I'm not crazy, I guess, is where I'm going at. Am I the only one that's experiencing it this way? And so, yeah, I totally can understand that. So for us, the shift in division of labor and work was like really harsh at first because again, we were separated for the first year and a half. So for the didactic part, he was living in Washington. I was in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm like you, Mark, I'm not the cook, Adam is. And so that was a little tough for me. So it was a lot of eating out, which was problematic because I wasn't allowed to be overweight. In the military, you have to maintain height and weight standards. And I will say it was ironically a little bit easier during didactic to keep up with that. And in San Antonio, they had tons of meal prep companies. And so that's what I would do. I would just do meal prep. I just bit the bullet and I got a housekeeper to help me keep up with the apartment. And that's all I focused on. So that's how I got through that portion. And then when Adam and I were in San Antonio, he 100% was picking up 80% of it. Like he was doing the cooking, most of the cleaning, the emotional support, all of it. And so it evolved and it was a back and forth because then when he left in phase two, I was on my own again. But back into the first year in San Antonio, I was struggling in so many different ways, not just in keeping up with my regular life, but I was also struggling with my grades. So I almost failed out in my first semester of anesthesia school. I don't think I quite understood the depth of the information that we needed to know to pass these tests. And so I went in, I couldn't even tell you how I studied because it obviously wasn't effective. And so I did terrible. I bombed a few tests. And in the middle of all that, my best friend Lisette is getting married. And so all of the like life festivities are starting to happen, the bridal shower, which I decided to go to. And I thought I studied enough and I come back and I bomb another test. And we're to the point now that if I don't get A's on the last few exams, there's no way I'm making it through CRNA school. So I had that going on and I started experiencing panic attacks and just crippling anxiety. On top of that, I've had like chronic neck pain for a long time. And that was like at an all-time high. And so I eventually get some help. I decide to ask for help. But towards the end of the semester, right before the big exam that I need to get like a high A on to pass, is her wedding. And I am a mess. I am a freaking mess trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Do I go to the wedding? Do I not go to the wedding? Like I literally kept myself up for nights trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do? And Adam was pretty instrumental, my parents and Adam, in getting me to go because they're like, listen, at the end of the day, this is your best friend. We've been best friends since we were like 5. So we've grown up together and this is a big deal. You can't miss this. And to add a layer to the whole thing is that the wedding is in Dominican Republic. So I'm active duty. I have to ask for permission to go overseas, which is such a pain. And then on top of that, I'm taking this exam that I have to get, I don't know, I think like a 94 or 95 on just to pass the class. And so I do end up going. And I'm that person. I'm studying during the day at the beach while everyone's partying. And I literally show up for the rehearsal dinner, getting ready, and the wedding. And then the very next day I'm out. I'm like on a plane back out. And thankfully, I obviously go back and pass the test because I'm still here. But it was just such an emotional roller coaster that I went through basically alone. And while Adam was there supporting me in all the ways he could, it was such an eye-opening thing. And it really opened my eyes to how people fall into depression or can fall into these cycles of not seeing a way out. Because I distinctly remember one night where I was just panicking about the whole thing and I just couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see a way how I was going to get through this, how I was going to get out of it. And I can really empathize with people that get stuck in that cycle and aren't able to get out. It was just, I don't even know. I don't have a word for it.
I know exactly how you feel because sentiment shared, like having a test, regardless of how you were doing before, you just have the scary. So now they're multiplied by 10 for you because you're in this crazy predicament, right? So, like, how do you go about asking for help? What point were you just, okay, I need help? And what triggered that? Like, other than the obvious, like fear of flunking out, like what internal struggles did you face in order to get to that point?
Oh, that's a good one because it was one of those things that was very humbling. You go into this group, mind you, every SRNA that's in this class is probably one of the smartest people. And in the military specifically, there's just so much that goes into appearances. Like, I just remember in our class, I don't know if it was like that for you, but the feeling of if you weren't getting a 4.0 on straight A's, you were just considered not good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
there I am at that crossroads, realizing that if I don't do something, I'm going to flunk out. And then I'm going to have to go back to bedside, and not just in bedside, in the military. So I'm going to have to serve out my next 5 years in the military at bedside. And that was terrifying to me alone. But I also knew that just wasn't a career that I would last in. I decided to ask other classmates for help. I asked other professors for help. Obviously, my professor knew the predicament I was in. And so I really became besties with my anatomy professor, and there were two of them, and I was every single class after class, I was asking them all the things. I even was able to get help from one of our other OG USAG-PAN professors that always claims he's going to retire. Hint, hint, he'll know who he is.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah. And so he helped me a ton, but that was actually also controversial because it was considered jumping the chain of command because it wasn't his class. And so that was a whole other thing I got in trouble for on top of that.
Oh my gosh, the military is exhausting. Do you want me to pass or nah, bruh?
Right?
Like, come
Like,
on.
good Lord.
Goodness.
Yeah. So that was a interesting dynamic. And he was the one that suggested that I go to like one of the smartest guys in the class, which I did. I went and I was like, really humbly, listen, this is the predicament I'm in. Can you help me? And he was so gracious to help me. He helped me a ton. We studied a lot. And between that and actually going to see the professors, mind you, because the anatomy and A&P professors weren't in the USAG-PAM building that we had in San Antonio. They were over, I think they were somewhere where like the physical therapists trained. And so I had to go all the way to where they were to just have some sit down time and be like, hey, this is how I understand this. Is this what it means? Blah, 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 blah. And they would point me in the right direction. And that being said, I know all of that got around. That wasn't a secret in my class. And so I distinctly remember being treated very poorly by other classmates.
Wow, that's sad.
Oh, yeah. And it is what it is. Like, I just had to like duck down and get through it. And whatever, I look like a dumbass. They love to ask how they pimp us. It's called pimping. When you're in a residency and they ask you questions like on the fly and you just got to answer them, I would freeze and panic almost every time. So I almost always sounded like I didn't know what the heck I was talking about or doing. And so I'm pretty sure to my classmates, and I could be wrong, y'all can hit me up and let me know if I am, like, I was definitely one of the weakest links. And so that was tough in general. I went through a phase of anger for sure, for many reasons, and did what I had to do though. Like, I just did what I had to do. And the best thing that I could have done, honestly, looking back, is gone to the wedding, because it did give me like that little breather I needed, even though I didn't think I needed it. And I remember my dad telling me, he sat me down and he was like, listen, I know you don't see this right now, and I know you don't think it's important, but you need to come and you need to just have a good time. Take a break, even if it's a little one, and then go back and get it done. And I did. I got it done. I don't know what I got on the test, but I think I ended up with a 79.5 or something on the final, or a 0.6 or something. It was enough to round up the class grade to an 80, and I made it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, touching back on that piece when you're talking about needing a break, it's crazy. It's like everything in life. You think If you keep going at it, you're going at it hard or whatever, you do this. Sometimes it's worse. You need a break. You need to change the atmosphere, to change the environment, talk to people that aren't in where you're going through in order to get a fresh perspective, or just let those neurons actually work a bit better for whatever you're doing later. And it's crazy because we know this so for so many reasons in so many settings. We've gone through this as humans so many times, but sometimes you just need a reminder. And so I'm glad that your dad did that for you, because I've heard this story so many times.
Yes. And it's just amazing how, so when going back to the cost of saying yes, like you don't realize all the people you're involving in that. And my dad, both of my parents and my husband were crucial in getting me through this. But I'm sure that was, now being a parent, like how stressful that was for them to see me in that predicament, to see how different I'd become. I don't know if it was like that for you, Mark, but you just turn into a different person, even if
Oh, absolutely.
just temporarily, and you start coming back. But I can't imagine the pressure it puts on them now looking back. Like it was just a crazy time.
It sucks because I feel like during that time, because like I said, we were newlyweds, and then Becky had already known who I was, and I'm like jovial, joyous most of the time. It's funny because so many people know me as fun and gregarious and all that stuff, but I really do have a time where I'm just like really serious, not because I'm upset, but like I'm just
Mhm.
that way. And so that was unfortunately not the version she got of me. She got a version that I didn't even know of myself, because I'd never been in this place in my life. So that's another thing that adds to it, right? Like you said, you change. And honestly, you change forever. You do lighten up, but you're never the same after you go through CRNA school. So anybody listening to this, you will not be the same person that you ended up going into school being, because you can't be. It's not a bad thing. At first, it's a very confusing thing,
Yeah.
because you shed yourself. You shed something that you were to become something that's better than that. And in that moment and through those transitions, it doesn't feel good because it's not familiar.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. And then it's like you're also testing all of your friendships, all of your relationships, everything. Obviously, you put the most focus on your marriage, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
But I remember having conversations with some of my friends that really, some of them didn't really get what was happening. And it wasn't that I was trying to ignore you or not be present. It's like I have 30 seconds a day to say hi to somebody, and it's going to be to my husband. Because even my mom, I remember my mom and my dad's complaining that I hardly called, and that's, I'm a terrible daughter most of the time, but it was just like that. I didn't have
Yeah.
time. Like I did when I could, but it puts a huge strain on every other relationship you have. And you don't realize that until you're in it. And then you also feel guilty because you can't keep up the same way that you used to, even though it's only temporary. It's just such a weird,
Right.
confusing time.
Yeah, for sure. That's a lot of up and down. I feel like CRNA school tests all of relationships, right? It's going to test everything. And so that's going to look very different for everyone. For Becky and I, unfortunately, and I guess maybe fortunately, there were people in our lives that were great and we had great relationships before school, and they didn't survive. So when we finished CRNA school and we moved back to South Florida, that was one of the reasons why we left South Florida, because everything had changed. People were different. People weren't there physically, like they had moved on for the 3 years they had moved. And some of the people that were there, it's almost like we were different. I'm just like, we're the same people.
Were they the different ones, or were you the different ones?
We were definitely different in the sense of you don't come out of 3 years of torture without being different. But I'd say I don't think we were different. The reason why I wanted to go to school is because I wanted more opportunities to be able to have more time with my friends and to help and to do things, right? And to just be a better version of myself. But I think that is a tricky situation, because then you go away and then some people, they're in their head about where you are in life now.
That's a good.
And now it's coming out, and they don't notice it, but you notice it because you know them and you're excited to be there. And I was like, hey, it's me. We're here. I'm back. Let's pick up where we left off. But people are salty now because it's like, where were you during these 3 years that this and that happened and this happens, like, and we try to stay in touch. Or maybe I wasn't on social media as much. It's funny because side story, and if you're listening to this, you know who you are, and I appreciate you for not letting me feel gaslit for years. But a friend of mine that we were really cool, we had fell off when I went to school, and not in a bad way, just because it was so busy. And then when I got back, and Becky and I got back, and we hung out all the time together. We had a blast. He was like ghost. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy. Almost like I didn't even exist. I was like, all right, maybe he's going through stuff in his life, whatever. And not until this year, I get a message on Facebook, and he was like, hey man, I want to apologize. Like, basically, like, you weren't in your head. I was feeling some type of way about what happened, but now that I'm mature and I'm older, I understand what you did. Like, I'm proud of you. And I'm sure it must be hard to have gone through that. And I was like basically immature on what I did and pulled away. And it was just like, it just felt weird because you just left and you made a life for yourself and you did that. And I don't even think for him, it wasn't even about the accolades. It was just that I came back with it. That whole thing didn't come off as a jealousy piece at all. It was just like, you ghosted me and like you started your life, and mine wasn't quite where it wasn't. Maybe I wasn't as mature in my own way, I should say, during that time when I was going through that, like the parallel. And he was just like, I get it. And I'm sorry. And I was like,
Wow.
and it's crazy because the crazy part is when I got the message, the night before, we were with two of our really good couple friends that we had been friends since we moved to Maryland. And so it was actually last November. Yeah, and we were all together and we were talking about dynamics and how people change and just all these things. And then I get this message on Facebook. The next night we're talking again at the table over dinner. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so I tell him, it was like, you're talking about the same thing and the same person, one of the people we were talking about. I was like, yes, this is crazy. So it felt validating in the sense of, and I feel like a total douche, you know what I mean? But it was like, it's default. Like, that was not my intention at all. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not that way. Most people I get along with, and I truly, genuinely like being around people, and I like people. I like to get to know people, and I like to be a friend. And yeah, it was rough feeling that way. I was like, dang.
What did I do? You're probably like, damn, what did I do?
Yeah. I'm like, what did I do? Like, I'm trying to better myself so we can have more fun, like later on, so we can be more relaxed. But it was not received that way.
It's so interesting how different people react to things like this. Like, depending on where you are in your life, though, like me, when I've seen other people get to different levels and succeed, my default is, oh, how do I do that? Oh, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, how do I make this happen? And you do forget that sometimes people aren't in that kind of place and they might see themselves reflected in a way that they don't like to see, in that, oh, I'm dropping the ball. I'm not where I want to be. And I wonder if that's how he felt, seeing that reflected in himself. And it really technically didn't have anything to do with you. But I think it's huge that he reached out and apologized for it. That's,
Huge.
yeah.
And what he had said, now I'm thinking, I remember some of what he wrote. He was just saying he's basically to someone, he's gotten therapy, and there's a lot of things that he was going through during that time that it was like clouding certain aspects of his life to where his perspective of things were fuzzy. And so that was good. Honestly, that taught me a lot about myself, and also, hey, maybe I need to do some work too. And maybe I could have handled that a little bit different, even though I feel like, oh, what was the problem? It was fine. Like, maybe that's the problem. I should have noticed something. You know what I'm saying?
Something was up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mark, now that we've got that all out, all on the table, the cost of saying yes, what it took to get here, what it did to our marriage and our relationships, I wanted to ask you, where are you guys today?
I feel like it's a good place, but it's definitely an interesting place because you think that when you go to school and you do all these things, you're going to get to a place where, okay, everything's going to be perfect. You did the hard work, but it only just began. You come out of school and then you get all these ideas of grandeur and you want to do all these things, right? You want to start these businesses, you want to do all, and time escapes. And then you're starting a family, you're doing all these things. But it's definitely, I'd say, better than CRNA school. I don't know what Becky would say. But we're pretty busy people and we like to be busy because even when we don't have something to do and when we have too much downtime, we're just like, oh man, we can't be, we just got to do. And Shantall, you know who we are.
I do.
Yeah. It's pretty exhausting sometimes. It's like a whirlwind, but I guess it's just what we're made for. But to answer your question, we're in a good place. I think we're getting to a better place and it's a stepwise fashion. I think CRNA school challenged me so much that I always say it broke my brain wide open. And it's a good thing. It's just, I didn't know what I could do until I was done. And then when I realized I could do that, I felt like I can do anything if I can do that.
Right.
And that can be a problem because ambition can run you ragged, right? And it can really have a, maybe a problem in your marriage and in your relationships with other people. And just, yeah, so I think we're still figuring all that out. Like Becky right now, she's doing her content creation as a food content creator and she's killing it. She's doing great.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and she's an amazing cook. She's always been a great cook. And so I was just like, hey, follow your dream.
I can think of that. She's like one of the best cooks I think I've ever met in my entire life. I'm a foodie. I love going to like Michelin restaurants, hole in the walls, you name it. I love it. And she's in the top 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I feel like I'm pretty harsh critic default because my sister had a restaurant for years and my mom is an incredible cook. It's funny, we would joke around because I'd be like, yeah, when we were younger, I don't have to marry somebody that knows how to cook. Like we were all in the same friend group.
Have you met you?
And our friends was like, who are you kidding? It was like, your mom and your sister and your family are like freaking top cooks. You could never have married somebody who couldn't cook. And we joke about it today too. Becky and I were just like, yeah, nah, it wouldn't have worked. Nah, it wouldn't have worked. So things are getting better. I do work in El Paso and I live in Houston.
Right.
So I commute back and forth, and that poses some interesting variables in our marriage. Nothing like that we can't work through, but we're figuring out ways to make it make more sense. And so that's awesome. And that's been really good. I think it's the ancillary things and finding out how we can make those things cross paths so we can spend more time together, even doing the things in the creation realm that we do love. And yeah, there's more to come. The marriage is dynamic,
Yes.
right? You could be in a marriage where it's not as dynamic as ours and it still has dynamic, right? Because perspective is everything. And yeah, so today we're in a good place. I truly believe we're in a good place, but we're just fine tuning every minute.
Yeah, that's what marriage is, right? You like the constant fine tuning, evolution, growth, and adapting to whatever it is that life is bringing you. And I think Adam and I are also in a good place. I think, like I mentioned before, since I've had so many iterations, right? Like not just CRNA school, but coming off of active duty. And I've been through so many changes where I came out lost and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, even though you got the big goal down, right? CRNA school done. Coming out of active duty, coming to work in Florida with the culture shock that we have here with the different practice settings here was really tough. And the last couple of years was another point of evolution for us. And so I think we're finally now getting settled in a place where we're back in sync. We're both pretty 50-50 on things. And every now and then that flexes, right? As obviously, like I'm recording the podcast and he's with our daughter. That does flex.
Same.
But there's no like animosity with that. Like I think he understands we got this goal, and same when he's got stuff going on, I just pick up the slack and we kind of divvy things up as evenly as we can, but we know that things change as they go. But I'd say overall, we're finally in a good place, which is why I feel like I can breathe again and I'm getting creative again, and how we ended up here.
I could definitely attest to that. I love you guys' dynamic. I love how it's so easy. You guys just are easy around each other. You guys are friends, and that's important in a marriage. And I can tell fully that you guys are friends before, in the midst of all of it. It's really good. You can I think people who have healthy marriages can sense another healthy marriage, and then you can sense anything else, right?
Yeah. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because we weren't always like this, right? It took a lot of work. And I think some people don't realize that. I've had friends in the past that just assume that you're in a happy marriage by luck. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. Adam and I actually only knew each other. I don't know if many people know this, but Adam and I only knew each other 5 months when we got married. And we didn't know each other. Like, honestly, we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
It's impossible to trust someone when you don't know them. And so we had a lot of friction in the beginning based on that, but that led us to working hard. We sought help really early. We definitely started marriage counseling in year one and did marriage retreats and whatnot because we didn't know how to talk to each other. But slowly that trust is built. And now 20, almost 21 years later, this is where we're at. We're like, we have a really solid foundation. And if we stumble, we always know how to find our way back to each other. So it's all that to say, it's not an accident. Like, you have to work really hard in your marriage, just like I know you and Becky also work really hard to make it work. I can see all the effort you guys are putting into your current situation with having to fly back and forth and all of the dynamics that go into arranging that.
Yes, it's a logistic nightmare, but it works and it stretches us. Also, shout out to Becky for so many things, but this woman literally packs my food for however long I'm gone. She freezes it, and I'm eating home cooked meals when I am not home every single time.
I know that. I was actually thinking about that, or I'm like, oh, you poor thing. You must like.
No, she hooks it up, man. My snacks, when I go to Whole Foods, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my little crunch and my little shakes, all the things that she doesn't make. But yeah, but definitely, she's an amazing woman. Like, not, I'm saying this very objectively. She's dynamic enough, but not too much. She's just consistent and she's definitely patient. She's so patient. She's so patient. She's so kind. She is who she is. And it's so easy to read her. And so that really helped through all the things that we've gone through. It doesn't hurt that she is nice to look at. And, but she's my best friend, truly. She's my best friend. We were actually friends for 4 years before. Funny story, Becky and I were friends for 4 years before we got together. And so we would hang out in the same friend group and we would hang out in the same friend group, but there were times where I was not dating somebody because she was in a pretty steady, long relationship. And there was a time when I wasn't dating someone and she would always try to hook me up with all her friends. She'd be like, he's an amazing guy. He's wonderful, this and that. And all the friends, I swear, I had no feelings for her. I just thought she's so fun. She's just a fun girl, you know what I mean? And I'd just be like, oh my gosh, all these girls that you try to get me with, they're boring. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then she broke up with her a long time boyfriend. And then a friend of ours, we were hanging out and she was about to go off to law school. And she was like, what would be a really good couple and that'd be awesome together? And we're like, who? And they must have talked about it before because they're like giggling in the background. I'm just like, I think I know where this is going. And they're like, Marc and Becky. And I was like, oh, this is funny. Planted the seed.
Yeah.
And then like, we just started hanging out more. And it's funny because she had this job in Miami and I lived in Broward County, and this is in South Florida. And she had this like old Toyota Corolla. That thing was like on its last life. Okay. So I'd say, look, because we were in the youth group together, I'd be like, all right, you drive from Miami, come park your car at my house, and then I'll take you in my car and we'll go get something to eat and we'll go to Wednesday service and then we'll hang out. You know what I mean? And I'll take you back so that way you don't have to drive your car from Miami and then drive from Broward to Doral. And I'm just like, your car's gonna go kaput. Yeah, it's crazy. It was stressed me out. I'm pretty sure it had like a hole in the floor. It may or may not have had a small hole. I'm not sure. I might be confusing the story. So I'm sorry, Becky, if it didn't have a hole, but that her name, I think her name was Betsy. Yeah, so Betsy, a car. And so it was crazy because all of a sudden we would all get together, but then everybody just couldn't make it. And it was genuine. It was organic. It wasn't like they were like, oh, I'm trying to set them up to see that they're going to be together by themselves. And then it just hit me. I was like, I love hanging out with this girl. There's more to the story, but like, she's so much fun. I feel like she's down for me. Like, she's supportive and like she's easy. It's just perfect. And so that's when I knew. I was like this Mexican restaurant on Miramar Parkway. It was like Tulum back in the day. It was like West Miramar. It's not there anymore. And I was like, yeah.
You knew.
This is who I want to be with.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love that. That's such a great story. And I think there's so much to say about the fact that you said your friends first, because I agree, Adam and I are friends first, and just random question during quarantine,
Yeah.
during COVID time.
Uh,
I imagine you had a blast hanging out with her at home.
oh my God, we had so much fun. We had so much fun. We had no kids. We had just gotten a cat that she just found. And guys, I'm talking about the Netflix binge.
Yep.
Like the binges were insane. Listen, we would stay up. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. So I would have work the next day. And that's when I think How to Get Away with Murder
Oh, I love that show.
had just come. Oh my God, we were hooked. We would stay up from 9 at night till 3 in the morning. I had to wake up at 5. It was crazy. We had the best time though.
Yeah, same, same. Adam decided he wanted to be a professional bartender during this time, so like he
Hey.
cocktails left and right. Like it was a great time. We had a blast, and I say that because I've had friends that have told me like they don't really like hanging out with their spouses, and that's such a
No.
foreign concept to me because if I'm going to hang out with anybody, it's going to be Adam. That's just
Absolutely.
who we actually like hanging out with each other. And I'm sorry if that makes some people nauseous, but that's just the way it is.
Same. I love it. And you know what's funny? Like I love my kids, but sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, could they go to sleep? I wanted to just hang out with my friend. I'll come home from the airport and I'm just like, we'll be talking, we'll be having like a great conversation on the couch, like laughing. And then freaking Summer Sadie starts screaming. And so someone's got to go. So naturally she's in her PJs and I'm hanging out. We're just kicking it. We're eating and all this stuff. I'm just like, these kids. I was like, why don't you sleep in your room?
We are in the trenches with that because my kid will not go to sleep in her room. And if we try, it's like an hour, 2 hour ordeal to get her to fall asleep. And then eventually she just makes it to our bed anyways. It's
Mhm.
really a downside because Adam pointed out, and that's a good point. It's like we don't get to snuggle at night anymore.
No, like we don't get to do any of that.
I hadn't realized it's been over 2 years that we haven't really snuggled, which kind of sad.
But you know what? They're only young ones.
Yeah.
And so that's why I try to think we're just like, okay, if they want to go sleep, it's fine. And we honestly love the little cuddles. The little belly in my hand is the
It's
best.
the best.
And it's just the best. I love it.
Or
Love all of it.
like, mommy, I want hugs.
Huggies, right? Yep.
Yeah.
That's nothing better. Or when they come and they take their hand and caress your face and then they say, I love you, daddy. I'm just like, you could sleep in here for your life. Yeah. All right, guys. Now we have come to the point of the show that we talk about what's off the record.
Yes.
All right. Right. So we're going to talk about it. So, in that spirit, Shantall, what do you think people in the middle of this should know or hear right now? What do you want them to get from this?
Oh man. What I want to tell people in the thick of it is to just keep going, keep showing up every single day. There's no plan B. You can do the best you can do every day. Try to show up for the important ones the best way you can. It's okay to take a break. It really genuinely is. Like you can take, I think my method was taking Friday night and most of Saturday off, and then I get back to it Saturday night and Sunday studying. You can take some time for that person. It's easy, no. Are you going to be thinking about school the whole time? Probably, but that person needs this from you. Part of the agreement is they're going to support you, but you got to give a little bit of something back. And I think it's easy to get sucked into all the things you got to do, but I think people need to know that it's still okay to be human and take some time for yourself.
Definitely. I want you to remember that you are smart, you deserve to be here, and you can do it. The fact that you are listening to this in the middle of it is not a coincidence. If this is something that you're hearing wherever you are or whatever field you're in, you did everything that you were supposed to do to actually show up and be in this room. So start acting like it and believe it, because what you believe is what you become. And just have patience with yourself, right? You're not going to go into, for all the SRNAs or healthcare providers, the residents in every form, that person in the corporate job, you're not going to go in knowing everything. Are you supposed to? Like, then what would be the point of all the schooling that you did up to this point? Just remember that failure is not a bad thing. It's just an experience that's going to make you better. I say that because I remember when I would just miss an intubation or like didn't get the arterial line or like take forever to do a block or whatever. I felt like such a failure and I felt terrible, especially because you know how it is, guys, in the room when everybody's looking at you and they're waiting for you to line the patients up and all this stuff. And it's so stressful. But all those microseconds or those seconds that you're in it and you're scared and you're like, oh my God, like, can I do this? Or if I did it sloppy, whatever it is, the goal is just to get through it so you can have the reps so you can become better later, right? So just be patient with yourself. You will do great and you're going to just overcome because that's what you do, right? And you're not going to have a choice. Just like Shantall said, you don't have a choice. Keep moving forward, but don't forget to love yourself. Like, I think that's one of the hardest things in this whole thing. I mean, in life, right? Appreciate yourself. Like, your body is taking on a lot of stress, whether you know it or not. And you got to be patient with yourself and love yourself through it. And also take time, like Shantall said, that's huge. I know I'm piggybacking off of that part, but like take time for your kids, take time for the people that you love, go out and have a good time, whatever you like to do. Make time for that. It's important to break away from that, to switch up the environment so that we can come and refresh and get back to business. So that's my 2 cents.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, guys, and that's a wrap. We've talked about all the marriage things, the spine of the marriage, how it flexes, how it moves, how dynamic it is, especially in CRNA school, right? But we have a really cool episode coming for you, don't we, Shantall?
Yes. Our next episode, we're talking about something that doesn't get talked about in healthcare enough, and that is choosing yourself.
How appropriate.
Yeah.
I actually just said, love yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. And so next episode is called Selfish. We'll be talking to Dr. Danny Williams, CRNA and IFP Pro card holder, about what it takes to choose yourself, even in the middle of CRNA school. You don't want to miss this. All right, that's it for today. If this resonated with you, please share with someone that needs to hear it.
Leave us a review. It matters more than you think.
I'm Shantall.
And I'm Marc. If you're thinking it, we're talking about it.